Hello, Mr. Gunning. Hello, Mr. Gunning.
Hi, good evening. I'm Mr. Stan Wirt.
How the devil are you?
How'd you find self?
Yes.
Yes, oh, that's good.
Trying to do the old Facebook bollocks now.
Yeah. Oh, I seem to be an S.
A?
No, an S. Oh, my doofer's not turned on.
Sorry?
Oh. So my doofer's not turned on.
The video's turned off, yeah.
Where's that one there? On there then. Easy press record information from the meeting. Okay. Not that one there then. Okay. Oh, that looks like it might be it. I guess. I recognise that room.
Hello, Steve. Oh. Hello, Neil.
Oh, sorry, my microphone was muted.
Yes, it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to play silly buggers again, haven't we?
Okay, where's the...
Oh. Lost the head, which is a good thing.
Did you manage to invite Fleur?
I invited her to join it, yeah.
That's cool.
Right, that's more or less set up. Yeah, if you can just check, make sure it's well, it seems to be doing it right. I can't see anyone else. Okay, that's right. Okay, put that in there. Put that one over here. Sitting around doing nothing again, Steve, I see.
Well, you know,
That's
somebody's got to.
well, you do it really well.
Practice, mate, practice.
So how's it going, Neil? Any aches and pains going on?
No, seems to be okay.
Damn, I have to get some more.
Damn, it's going to make me go lower, go even lower.
Right, you have an error.
Yeah, I have to mute you when I go live in a couple of minutes.
Oh.
Otherwise, we'll all be on there. Well, another day, another horseplay. Just gonna double check see if that's all right. More or less.
I want to move that chair.
Yeah.
I think one of us tripping over that.
No, it's saying fetching. It's not doing it again now. It's lost the live stream, which is always lovely. I think I waited too long before I put it on.
You think it might time out if you get it ready and then don't start it?
Yeah, it seems to be. I thought I'd just check the live stream's actually doing what it should do. I can't see the mouse cursor now. Oh, there it is. Page I manage. We'll do a few more different exercises today as well, if possible, for my entertainment mainly. You can always practice MaBu there whilst you're standing there, you know. I don't want to stop you. Are you frozen, you two? You seem to be frozen in time. Oh, you're moving. That's good. I think Steve should be standing in a... There we go. Okay, I'm going to mute you all now. I'm going to start in a second. I'll speak to you after.
Okay. I'll pin you to the full screen then.
Pinned yourself or me?
No, pin you. Yeah.
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I can find my cursor again. Okay, hello, and welcome to day 2, week 2 of MaBu Club. Thank you for joining. If you've done this before or you've seen these videos before, please take care and do any things that you feel comfortable with. To begin with, we'll start off as always with this posture, so the feet are to one side, to work on the centering of the body, keeping the crown of the head pointing upwards, the chin tucked in, the hands to the sides, just the fingertips lightly touching the sides of the legs. As we're dropping down, we're going to descend just slightly to begin with, drawing the pelvis into the floor and just lifting up, relaxing the body. Keeping this idea of keeping the chin lightly tucked in, the head as if you're being suspended in the crown of the head as we just lower down. This has an effect of opening this area of the body, just let the legs come out. How low you go is really up to you. We don't need to go too low to begin with. And if it's painful, please do stop. You do want the fingertips just lightly touching the legs so they're also involved, rather than any stiffness or just hanging loose. I'm going to keep descending and ascending a few more times before we focus on individual exercises. So this idea of having the head just as if you're being pulled up, so the neck is starting to lift, the neck vertebrae are getting looser by stretching. You may feel between the shoulder blades or just above the shoulder blades in the spine, just an interesting sensation if you lift your head up, keeping the chin tucked in. As we're dropping, now I want to see if we can absorb into the floor or dissolve into the floor. The objective is not to push down, it's to actually let yourself release into the floor as if the legs are just floating outwards. When you get to the lowest point you choose to be in, just take a slight breath out to relax the body and then just descend till you reach the highest point. And then again, just relax the body using an out breath. And again, descend. If you're drawing into the floor or falling, vertically downwards, being suspended by that sensation of your neck and your head lifting upwards. So as we're descending as well, we can focus on the shoulders, particularly between the shoulder blades, just releasing, just be aware of the area as you're drifting down. So you're feeling and relaxing allow you to descend. Always maintain this idea of the head being in line with the pelvis in the center. So we try to make sure that the weight is not too far forwards or too far backwards. In other words, on the heels too much or on the toes too much. The fingers, we want to keep just lightly touching, almost touching just the skin or the fabric if you're wearing loose fitting clothing. You can allow the hands to slide down as you become lower, if you feel it changing, or you can keep them in the same place, whichever you prefer. But we still want some very light contact here. So we're keeping the arms alive. You may find as we're going down, the arms start coming out a little bit naturally. When you're coming back up again, just feel the change in the shoulders and the arms as you lift it. Try to relax the spine and the pelvis at each juncture of the top, relaxing, just checking nothing is holding on or gripping. The same when you're at the bottom. Just relax before you ascend. Breathing out mechanism generally helps. So if you almost like a sigh at the top, then descend and little sigh, descend the wave of relaxation through the body and ascend again. So if we then try to add a cycle of breath, so as we're going down, we can begin breathing in until we reach the lowest point we choose, relax, and breathing out as we ascend. So breathing in, breathing out. All the time we're keeping this chin lightly tucked in, the crown of the head lifting up, feeling between the shoulder blades. Lifting up and relaxing. Being joined by one of the cats. So the breath, we can reverse. So as we're going down, we can breathe out. As we're coming up, we can breathe in. At the change of each juncture again, we can use, for example, is the breathing out as we go down. Just relax the parts of the body you find tense, usually the legs or the gluteals. At the top, the same thing. Before you take the next breath, just go through a little check, make sure you're still in line. Head's gently lifting up. The hips are just nice and relaxed going down. So we're learning to open the quad, this area. There's a nice preparation for centering yourself, finding a bit of the ground. If you can dissolve into the floor as you're breathing in or out, makes the whole body much lighter. Okay, and relax. So, introduce another concept or idea. This is about finding where the weight in the feet will be. It's kind of a circling. It's 3 main circles in 2 directions, so 6 movements really. It's a very small movement we actually want, so I'll exaggerate some of the actual directions we're doing just for the purpose of seeing what's doing. So we're trying to move from this point of the body, the center of the body. It's called the Dantian or Chi Hai, just below your navel. What we're going to do is keeping this part relaxed. So we want to have the legs slightly bending. So if you see the side view, I'm not locked out straight. I'm actually just relaxing enough so that this area, again, you can test on your own body, this is relatively loose and soft. So what we're doing is we're going to move the weight very slightly to one side, so it's more towards the heel of that side, then move it so it just goes into the ball of the foot, and then move it across to the other side so it's in the ball of the foot, then back onto the heel of that side, then across to the other side again. So we're going to have this as a circle going around from heel, heel, ball of the foot, ball of the foot. So make sure it's a very subtle movement. Make sure that you're not pressing your weight too far forwards. You're just feeling the weight on the ball of the foot just before the feet start or the toes start to grip a little bit. Then across to the other side and the heel, same idea. Make sure the weight goes on the heel, not so that you're feeling like you have to grip or lean forwards, just enough so you feel the weight going towards the heel more. And when you change, you're having this idea. So this is like a circling going around. Heel, heel, ball of the foot, ball of the foot, heel, heel. It's a nice gentle exercise. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you can. But do avoid locking and straightening up, because all you'll do is just rotate the knees. We actually want this to be soft, so it's just through the feet. We're trying to observe where the feet are. We can change direction as well, so we're going from heel, heel, ball of the foot, ball of the foot, heel, heel, ball of the foot. So this is learning to draw a center between your feet. So the center of gravity of our body, if we're keeping the head up, as the earlier exercise, all the exercises have this basic idea, and the hips relax, the tailbone as if it's got a little weight on it. So when we're circling around, our center of gravity is always somewhere between our feet. And this is very important for balance, for stress relief of the body, for martial art, or for health. They have the same movements, the intentions may just be different. So this rotation is quite a big movement. So you're going heel, heel, ball of the foot, ball of the foot. What I'm going to try to add to this, or rather take away, is how small a movement you can do going from heel to ball of the foot to ball of the foot on the other side to heel. If you can make this movement start as big as you can without causing any stress in the body, and then see if you can just make it smaller and smaller and smaller. So the movement, you can still perceive the weight change, heel, heel, ball of the foot, left to right. But you make the movement smaller and smaller. One way of doing this is you can get the mechanical movement quite well, relatively small. But if you just add just a little breathe out, like the sigh we mentioned earlier, just relax. You'll find the legs relax and the movement becomes easier. As long as this is slightly open or beginning to open, you can have the rotation almost imperceptible from the outside. You need to feel that the weight is on the ball of the foot, the heel, on either side. So this rotation, we can change direction. So we can start relatively large circle, and then almost like spiraling into little pinpoints. So you're really starting to move from this part, and you're sending the idea of spiraling back out again, so making movement a little bit bigger, but all the time you're learning to relax the legs rather than force the movement with your upper body. It's all moving from this area to begin with and focusing on the feet or the ground. This is the first paired exercise, which is 2 movements, left and right if you like. The next one is now moving perpendicular. So you're going across, so the weight goes to one side, you're dropping, and you're moving across, then up again. So the movement isn't about squatting and lifting, pushing up and down. It's almost like you're pouring some weight onto that leg more. You're letting it flow across to the other side, and then you're lifting it up again, carrying it across, and then pouring it down this side. So it's this idea. So the center part is doing the movement rather than the hips, which is a different exercise, completely different maybe. So we need this lifting, letting the weight pour into this foot more than this foot. We're not really lowering or going up and down very much. Drawing across the center to the floor, so you feel this foot filling up some of your weight, lifting it, carrying it across, empty. Carrying it across, lifting it up, carrying it across, dropping it down. We can change direction, of course, to the second direction. Drawing up, carrying it across, dropping it down, carrying it across. I'm using my hands only to illustrate the idea of my weight is just the center, off the center, because I'm just allowing some weight to go on that side. So the hands are just illustrating that idea. We don't need to use the hands, but sometimes it does help to have this idea. Okay. So when we rotate this way or this way, we must also check that our weight is between the balls of the feet and the heels, not all on the heels, or less common, all on the balls of the feet. So you don't want any gripping, you want the balance between those 2 points in your feet. So you can have your center of gravity, keeping in line with the center of you in the lateral plane. So this, again, we can add this idea of rotating, dropping, rotating, lifting, rotating, emptying, rotating, lifting. But keeping this central idea still as if you're still being pulled up, the neck is nice and relaxed, the shoulders are relaxed. And then we can add, as the previous two directions, trying to make that movement as small as possible in slow spirals inwards. So you're perceiving the weight to go on one side and you're finding the center, just going across until it becomes just a smaller movement. Again, it's easy if you can just occasionally breathe out and relax the legs. If they are, you tend to hold too much, so we just relax the legs and try to move from this position. So spiraling in till we have a very small movement, then release, spiraling the other way. Start with a larger movement to begin with and move out. It's generally easier until you become into a center position. And then the other direction. So relaxing every now and then, just checking that you're not stiffening and your legs are aching. If your legs are aching, it's because we tend to hold and move the whole body in a rigid way. All these exercises are trying to loosen you and relax you to begin with. There's plenty of other loosening exercises you want to practice, but really these ones about loosening this area of the body is, in the West, quite difficult. We hardly ever have any focus here at all. Okay, spiraling in. Nice and small. And relaxing. So the last in the series of these three exercises, left and right, it's counted as 6 really, is to go in the forward plane, going in. So the weight is in the center here, evenly distributed at each foot, and the hips relax as before. So if you do feel a bit of stiffness, then just loosen your legs if you need to walk around. Otherwise, if you are learning to relax a bit more, if you keep practicing these exercises in the last week, it does get easier. The more you learn to relax, it becomes the norm rather than pushing and pressing against the floor. You will be part of the floor, so it becomes an easy connection with the rest of your body. If this is grounded and weighted, your center of gravity is lower, your legs are relaxed, the upper body can be lighter and more relaxed. This is a common principle. So this last movement is making the weight draw in to the heels, as if you're just lifting yourself a little bit and then letting the weight pour into the balls of the feet. Letting it slide under the heels, lifting very slightly, pouring into the balls of the feet. Okay, so from the side view, making sure that this is still up. You're having the weight go forwards, just so you feel before the toes start gripping the floor, and then just releasing here and drifting to the heels, making sure this is still nice and relaxed. And the lift isn't with the legs pushing, the lift is just having the idea of almost like you're just pouring something into the balls of the feet. Letting it slide underneath your heels, lifting and pouring into the feet. Yeah. So this vertical circle is aiding you to feel the ground, but it also is moving. So rather than the MaBu itself, which is visibly static, this gets into the idea of opening this and having this sensation to open this part, which allows the weight to be distributed more freely and evenly. So you can see the cat's happy with that. So again, of course, we change direction, making this circle as well as this circle going up and forwards, and also up and backwards. The same applies with these exercises to make sure that we're not putting the weight too far back that we feel that we have to grip, usually with the gluteals, or we're leaning too far forwards. So the body needs to be having this idea of this lifting up and the chin tucking in. So the whole upper body is nice and loose, and this is just open here, so you just fall in. So this is nice and loose as well, but grounded. Okay. So this rotation in this direction becomes a nice movement. It's relatively small compared to the other movements because it's not very visible from the front view. So we have this pouring, drawing, lifting, the other way around. Again, the same thing will apply. We get the largest movement we can without gripping or tensing, and then we make the movement smaller and smaller. So it's spiraling in on this plane. And occasionally, if you want, I suggest you just every now and then exaggerate the out breath and relax. And you feel some muscles in the legs or the gluteals relaxing. Change in direction, release it. Change in direction, release it. So lifting, pouring, lifting, pouring into the heels, lifting, pouring into the heels. Keeping this up the whole time. Okay. So that's 3 new exercises for you to practice, which will aid MaBu, aid focusing and centering yourself, and hopefully connecting with the floor. The legs are doing a lot of work, mainly because we're not used to doing such a small movement. We're used to pushing and pulling with these large muscle groups. So making everything else work in the body, you might find it a little bit stiff to begin with. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. It becomes quite a nice movement, loosely moving. So we're learning to try to move from the lower part of the body rather than from the upper part. If you think, when I put my hand forwards, my body has to counterbalance the weight of my arm. So we usually do that by using our back, which is why we have back problems, as we all know. Don't lift pushing forward, you lift by going through this. We know this from theory, but in everyday life we end up doing this, and this counterbalance has an effect. So if you soften and pick something up, then the weight is distributed better through the foot. So this is kind of a normal way to try to change how you do, not just in this video clip or if you're practicing things. It's just learning to do this. You could be waiting in a queue at the supermarket for a long time. You can stand here, no one notices you just practicing circling in 3 directions in both planes, or 3 planes. So it's a nice exercise to do, keeps you there. Worst thing you can do is stand like this with the leg locked out, the back is going to be stiff, the knees locked out. This is not a very good way to behave. So it's nice to have this as part of a routine when you're standing around 2 meters away from each other. Okay. So moving on to your favorite exercise, which will be MaBu. We have the feet parallel again. Step back a bit so you can see my feet as well. We're going to sit down using the same principle as we did before. This going up, this going down. So this feeling of the tailbone as if there's something on your belt or pushing down. Thank you, Torsten, for that one. It's moving down, but then keeping the center so your weight is in the center between your feet. The tendency can be to have this happening because we don't like bending this bit. We don't realize we're leaning backwards. After many years of training, most people don't realize they're thinking up. And you adjust them to be vertical, and they feel they're doing this. And this is quite a common thing because we're not really used to allowing this to open. So the sitting position in MaBu, in horse stance as it's called, is to open this. In the previous exercises, to help you be aware of this area more and to practice more, so you can feel that this exercise itself is quite a useful one to ground yourself. I'm obviously doing this kind of thing, or whatever hand position we want to do, in this position in a queue in a supermarket is probably not well received, although you'll probably get in quicker. But this idea of loosening this hip and keeping the tailbone relaxed is quite a useful one. and the hands resting as if it's on water or some other viscous fluid. So you're balancing the hands. It's not a hard press or trying to keep yourself from falling down. It's just sitting, keeping that posture. Not forgetting the head lifting up, shoulders relaxing. And you can practice the breath in and out. You can always go a little bit lower to relax the body more, making sure the weight isn't too much on the heels or the balls of the feet. Just another few seconds, we've come to the end of the session, more or less. Just one more, just lower a few millimeters, just to feel the legs relax again. Check the chin is relaxed, the back is open, got the head lifting up. Arms are relaxed, shoulders are relaxed. And bring the hands in. Now, when we bring the foot in again, just to add one more thing, what we want to do is keep this relaxed. Lift the heel of the other side so the weight naturally transfers through the hip into the foot and bring the foot together. Then it's easy to then twist across so you can see the whole body has lost its structure again. So we try to move in this way, so when we're moving we keep the body vertical, not by being rigid, but allowing the weight to go on the weight of the leg that's supporting you, so you have this easier movement. Okay, one last thing. Thank you very much for watching. If you are watching, enjoy your time. I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.